Most people choose the wrong cage for their birds, and they don't even realize it. A cage can look beautiful in your living room, but still be terrible for the bird. In this video, I'll show you the biggest mistakes people make and exactly how to choose the right cage so your birds stay healthy, active, and behave naturally. The most important thing to understand when choosing a bird cage is this. The cage is first of all for the bird and only secondly for you. Too many cages are chosen because they look nice in a living room instead of being designed for what the birds actually need. The first thing to think about is space. Birds need room to move and fly. Even if you let your bird out of the cage part of the day, the reality is that most of its life is still spent inside the cage, so it must be large enough for proper exercise. For larger parrots, the bird should at least be able to fully spread its wings and ideally also fly a short distance inside the main cage or aviary. For smaller birds like finches, budgies and canaries, it's easier to provide enough space, but the cage should still be longer than it is tall because birds fly horizontally. Also remember not to fill the cage with too many objects, otherwise the birds won't be able to fly. Even very small finches should have at least 60 centimeter cage and ideally around 100 centimeters for a single bird or pair. If you start adding more birds or different species, they will need even more space, especially if you want them to breed successfully. A bird's cage should ideally be longer than it is tall. Avoid round cages, cube-shaped cages or decorative designs. They may look nice, but they make it difficult to place perches in a way that allows birds to fly. And always position perches so droppings don't fall onto other birds or into food or water bowls. When choosing perches for your bird, the first rule is simple. Use natural branches whenever possible. Natural wood helps protect the bird's feet because the surface is irregular and gives them a better grip. Plastic perches might be easier to clean, but they are often too smooth and always exactly the same shape, which is not ideal for long-term food health. The second important point is thickness. A perch should not be the same size everywhere. Birds need different diameters so their feet can move naturally around the branch. This helps prevent foot problems and also allow the nails to wear down naturally, reducing the need for trimming. Many breeders, especially those keeping large numbers of birds, often use cabinet cages, sometimes referred to as box cages. These cages are very practical because they are easy to stack and manage when you have many birds. But they also serve another important purpose. They create a calmer and more protected environment for the breeding pairs. With solid sides, the birds are less disturbed by activity or by neighboring birds, which can help reduce stress during breeding. Cabinet cages can also work very well in a living room setting where people move around a lot. Compared to completely open cages, the enclosed sides help birds feel safer and more secure. Another advantage of cabinet cages is that they also reduce the mess outside the cage. Because the sides are closed, seeds, husk and feathers stay inside much better. Another simple solution is choosing cages with high sides around the bottom tray. When birds eat, they naturally throw seed cells around, and without a high edge, a lot of that ends up on the floor. And in general, the larger the cage, the less mess ends up outside, simply because there's more space for the birds to move and drop things inside the cage. It may sound like a small detail, but many people actually stop keeping birds because of the mess. So this is a very important thing to consider when choosing a cage. Choosing a cage, it is also very important to look at the doors in the mesh. You should have at least one large door, big enough to reach inside for proper cleaning, changing branches, or catching a bird if needed. Good access makes maintenance much easier. But at the same time, the doors should not be so large that the birds can easily escape every time you open the cage to feed them. This is why many good cages include smaller feeding doors. These smaller doors allows you to place food bowls, water dishes or bird bath from outside without opening the main cage. That makes daily care much easier and also reduces the risk of birds flying out. Another advantage is hygiene. When balls are mounted from the outside, they are less likely to get droppings in the food or water, which helps keep everything cleaner and healthier for the birds. When choosing a cage, the mesh is extremely important. First, make sure the wire spacing is correct. The gaps must be small enough that the birds cannot escape, and more importantly, so they cannot get their head stuck. Sadly, many people have lost birds in cages where the spacing was too large and the bird became trapped. Next, the wire thickness must be strong enough. Thin wire can bend or break and birds can injure themselves if the mesh moves or opens. The wire should also be rust resistant so it stays safe and durable for many years. Another important detail is the color of the mesh. Avoid shiny metallic or white mesh. They reflect light and disturb the view. A matte black coated wire is usually best because it becomes almost invisible and you can see the birds much more clearly. If you keep parrots, especially larger species, the mesh must be very strong. Large parrots have an incredibly powerful bite and can easily destroy weak cages. And finally, avoid decorative cages with wooden bars. They may look beautiful, but they break easily and parrots can destroy them in just a few hours. In a second, I'll tell you the 3 most common cage mistakes people make. But before that, let's quickly recap the most important things we covered. Choose a cage that is longer than tall, so birds have space to fly. Use natural perches with different thickness to protect their feet. Make sure the cage has a strong mesh with correct spacing, smart doors for feeding and cleaning, and a design that reduces mess outside the cage. Now, the 3 mistakes I see most often. First, choosing a cage that is too small or too tall instead of long. Second, weak cages or wrong mesh spacing, which can injure birds or even allow them to escape. And third, overfilling the cage with too many toys and perches so birds can actually fly, or sometimes even overfilling with too many birds. And remember one important thing, the cage is not furniture for your home, it's your bird's home. Thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, please like the video, follow the channel and leave a comment. Tell me what birds you keep and ask a question if you have any. See you in the next one.